So look at David's response to the trouble that he's got in his life right now. He responds physically one key way. Look at it. Because this is what he does. He does not allow his dilemma to change his declaration. He doesn't allow for his danger to change his declaration. And now he determines his defense. Verse number 2. Look at what David says in verse number 2. He says, he, meaning God, is alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall never be shaken. I'm going to say it one more time for the Holy Ghost. That gets good to me. He says, he alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall never be shaken. Let me say it one more time for somebody who might be fearful, who might be scared of the next steps in your life, or who might be fearful or scared of what's been happening and taking place in your life. I come to remind you today that God is your rock. God is your salvation. God is your fortress, and you can never be shaken. Oh, I like that. I like that, because David declares that because I trust in God, I won't allow the danger that I'm in to change the stance that I'm in. So David says, I shall never be shaken. Coach Twine knows some strong words, but those words are strong because David knows that God is stronger. And I love this because David writes low-key a diss track to his trouble. Okay, for some of you all who don't know, this past month of April, there have been several diss tracks that have been put out. Future, Metro Boomin, and Kendrick Lamar put out a diss track directed at Drake and J. Cole. J. Cole put out a diss track aimed at Kendrick Lamar. Drake put out a diss track about Kendrick Lamar, and everybody in hip-hop, I don't know how a lot of those folk caught, a lot of folk caught strays from Drake. I ain't gonna front. That was unnecessary. Then all went silent until yesterday. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Chris Brown released the diss track aimed at Quavo from the Migos. Now, Chris Brown's diss track really caught my attention because this track is out of his element. Chris Brown is a dancing R&B singer. I mean, he tip-taps and toe-taps all across the stage, and he dances. He doesn't rap. That's out of his element. Yet here he is rapping and dissing Quavo. And Chris Brown did not hold anything back. He had some somebody say very. He had some very strong words to say to Quavo about his late brother. I mean, he literally called Quavo and Takeoff everything but a child of God. Chris Brown really held nothing back. And I thought to myself, how in the world could Chris Brown have this level of confidence to say the things that he said about Quavo? Then I remembered, folk talk real reckless when they can back it up. I can tell some of y'all ain't been in no fights for real. Folk talk real reckless when they can back it up. See, some of y'all may be thinking that I'm talking about Chris Brown, but I'm really talking about God for real, because some stances we as believers can take because we know God can back us up. Some things we know we can declare because we know God can truly back us up in this life. There are some things we can confidently speak to because we know that God can truly back us up. And this is how the danger that you're in won't change the stance that you're in, because you have a God that can and that will back you up. You may be in troubling times right now, but don't let that change your stance, because no matter how much trouble you face, God will still have your back. You may have been crying all night long last night, but don't let that change your stance, because weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning light. You may be dealing with enemies on every side, feeling as if you are flooded with problem after problem. But don't let that change your stance. When the enemy comes in like the flood, God will have your back and will lift up a standard against him. You may be in the midst of some trouble right now, but don't you let your troubling times change the stance that you're in, because no matter how much trouble you're in, you can still be of good cheer, because Jesus has already overcome the world. And I'm about to go. I got to head on back to my house, but that's the hope that I want to leave you with this beautiful Sunday morning. I want you to know and understand that nothing can shake you when you know that God's got you. There is no trouble that can take you out, because God had your back and has already worked it out. This situation won't break you, because God will have your back and save you.